And now,
That's
ready
County
for
Administration. Next would be our Tourism and Cultural Affairs program, although it will be a department soon. Samara Phelps is the Executive Director. Go ahead, Samara.
Thank you very much.
Welcome, Samara.
Thank you. So I'm Samara Phelps, Executive Director for Clackamas County Tourism and Cultural Affairs, and we are the destination organization for Clackamas County. Under the guidance of the board-appointed Tourism Development Council, we implement the county's tourism master plan. The Tourism Development Council consists of 9 industry leaders from across the county. The budget presented today reflects the direction and priorities of the Tourism Development Council, who approved this budget at their April meeting. This program is funded entirely through the transient room tax. Next slide, please. Accomplishments. At the beginning of the pandemic, hotel occupancy took an unprecedented low. This resulted in an immediate and dramatic drop in transient room tax, and with extremely uncertain revenue, our program was forced to make significant changes in both staffing and programming. I'm pleased to share with you that as a result of those effective changes, the organization is financially stable today. Additional staff capacity was added at mid-year, and additional capacity and programming is planned for the coming year. Throughout this past year, we've focused our communication strategies and tools on community support to local businesses, encouraging locals to eat, shop, and explore close to home and support those businesses, as well as providing them information about resources that are available to the businesses operating in our hospitality sector. We also developed Know Now information on our channels, and to inform the visitor on how they can stay safe in destination. Now that we're starting to reopen, this month we've started familiarization tours virtually, which has been great. And so this month we featured Estacada, encouraging visitors to explore and experience the activities and the local businesses available while 224 is closed. A high-profile accomplishment from this year is leveraging the Regional Cooperative Tourism Program at the state level to secure Mount Hood Territory and Mount Hood Gorge mentions, as well as footage and products in Top Chef Portland, which is airing now, which is an incredible national audience for our destination. Next slide, please. The 2 key measurements for tourism are transient room tax collection and visitor spending in destination. And based on the forecasting from Tourism Economics and Travel Oregon, we're forecasting fiscal year 21-22 to be 70% of fiscal year 18-19, which was the last complete year of collection before the pandemic. That's a $1.4 million decrease. Visitor spend for fiscal year 19-20 is still not available yet, but we are targeting it to trend similar to the transient room tax at 70% down. That's an estimated $384 million in visitor spending here in Clackamas County. That represents a $200 million decrease from pre-pandemic levels, but a significant increase from what we've seen in the last year. Next slide. Great. 100% of our program is funded through we receive no general funds, and 100% of our programs are completed by county staff. We are also currently developing our Performance Clackamas Measuring for Results plan, and we'll have one implemented for this coming fiscal year. Next slide. Revenue and expense. All right, so the majority of our revenue seen here in purple comes from the transient room tax. We do receive some funds from Travel Oregon to operate a very specific program for the region called the Regional Destination Management Organization for the Mount Hood and Columbia River Gorge that's shown in yellow. Revenue for fiscal year 21-22 also includes significant carryover from the current fiscal year due to higher than anticipated transient room tax collections, as well as those changes mentioned before. We are using the carryover to increase our contingency in this coming year. So for fiscal year 21-22, you see a significant increase in contingency. This increase in contingency aligns with the industry best practices. The priority for revenue earned in fiscal year 21-22 is for programming represented by materials and services in blue on the pie chart. Personnel services in gray includes 3.5 additional FTE, including that half a position that Gary mentioned that we share with administration. The approach is to budget conservatively so that we can program confidently. Next slide, please. The summary of revenue and expense charts what we've experienced over the last 4 years and how we've adjusted our expenditures to accommodate those changes in revenue. Next slide. This is a summary across our 4 program areas. You'll see leadership and administration is the majority, and it includes the majority of our staffing and an opportunity to fund and respond to unforeseen opportunities during this time of recovery. Next slide. Our significant financial issue is transient room tax is forecasted to be down 30%, approximately $1.4 million from pre-pandemic levels, and the return to pre-pandemic levels is not expected until sometime in 2024. So tourism's capacity is increasing, but we're not at pre-pandemic levels and will not be for several years. Informed by stakeholder feedback, the Tourism Development Council identified 4 priority areas for critical issues facing our industry that are supported by this budget presented today. 1 is organizational resiliency. The result of this is an increase in our contingency to mitigate future disruptions in revenue. The second is marketing and communication provides a critical service to our community's needs. As revenue returns, funding for those programs is prioritized. 3, flexibility. There's a great deal of uncertainty in what recovery will look like for us. This budget allows us to be responsive to opportunities and needs as they arise throughout the year. And the 4th is additional capacity. We need additional capacity to deliver on our programs. This budget increases our staff capacity and also includes the flexibility of contracting for additional services when needed. With these 4 priorities informing the budget, we have a solid foundation to assist our communities in recovering to vibrant destinations that we know that they are. And with that, I'm happy to take questions.
Good, thank you very much. I have a curiosity question. So is the Regional Cooperative Tourism Program, is that the one that's been existing for, well, ever since it was only a 1-person office 25 years ago, where, 'cause I used to be the CEO of the Chamber of Commerce, and so we would get an annual allocation depending on our program that we were going to provide, as did the other cities and/or chambers of commerce. And I know how valuable it was, you know, to the smaller organizations, and I just wondered if that's still able to continue.
Yeah, so the program that's listed here is a state program that we receive funding from the transient room tax at the state level to deliver those services. So the program that you're referencing has morphed and changed, and it is not included in this budget at this time.
Okay, all right. Yeah, and I know things change and, you know, they're different each year, each time. You know, there's a lot of moving forward and all that good stuff. So thank you for that. It was just a curiosity question more than anything.
Thank you for the question.
Yeah, appreciate it. Mr. Feely, you still have your card up. Is that new or? All right, thank you so much. Commissioner Smith and then Fisher.
Thank you, Samara. Your department was probably impacted one of the hardest by the COVID with traveling, and it was just really too bad because your department was one of the most successful, basically on a revenue basis, and you were able to go out and really share the wealth and do a lot of good things. I have a couple questions.
Great.
On your contingency of $1.6 million, could you explain that to me in a little bit? I couldn't hear everything, and I apologize for that.
Yeah, no problem. So that contingency represents about 40% of our operating budget. Best practice ranges from 3 months of operating budget to a year worth of operating budget from our sector as a destination organization. So we, taking the opportunity to reset with the year that we've just had and having better than anticipated revenues, are taking that carryover from the prior year and feeding it into a contingency fund to support, since we are a single revenue source, future disasters, such as what we've endured over the course of the last year, will not have those immediate and dramatic impacts. We can provide more consistent service.
That's good. Did I see correctly that you're going to be hiring more?
Correct,
Okay.
yes.
We had to let go of some really good employees. Is that going to be an open recruitment, or do we bring back the ones we've lost? I don't even know if those folks are available. But
Yes, this is a great question, and absolutely, we had an incredible staff, very dedicated, and through the support of HR, we will be going through a process of defining those job descriptions, and then there will be the prescribed process for rehire, recall, whatever is appropriate, given
I
our
suppose
lists.
on the open recruitment, anybody can apply,
Correct. If it
Yeah,
becomes an
you
open recruitment,
pass.
anyone can apply.
former employees. And then, the big elephant in the room that I will always address until the problem is solved is your rent of a building that you currently are not occupying because of the situation you find yourself in. How is it going trying to sublease that amount?
So as you know, we do have that ongoing obligation, which is covered in the budget as presented. It is a tough market out there. We have a broker who's working on it. We also are in continued conversation with the landlord about potential opportunities to lease that space, get out of the agreement permanently, sublease. All of those options are on the table because we agree that that's something that needs to get taken care of.
And where does that appear in your budget? Is that materials and services?
So it does come under materials and services.
Okay, all right, thank you very much.
Thank you. Commissioner Fisher?
Thank you, Samara. Yeah, it's really sobering when you look at the numbers and to see the dramatic decrease in revenue due to COVID. A question I have, you said that things won't recover to pre-pandemic levels until 2024. Is that, I guess it kind of surprises me. And just yesterday, the Blazers opened up, so the playoff game that's happening tomorrow, and I called my husband and said, hurry up, get us tickets. And he got on there and he barely got 2 tickets to the Blazer game, but those sold just like that. So I'm just interested in how, because that really depresses me, 2024. I mean, how solid of a projection is that? Is that subject to other, I don't want that to be true, so I want you to tell me that it might not be true, I guess.
I will tell you that we are monitoring that also, that we are using conservative forecasting. So that number was the best data as of February when we were assembling budgets. The world is changing quickly and reopening. So it's clear that there's a demand for travel. There's clear that there's a demand for our destination. We do anticipate our destination being slightly more depressed than perhaps some other destinations in the state of Oregon because Portland will be the slowest to recover. Urban centers, that's just the trend. That's not the travel that is first on people's list to go to an urban destination. And that's a significant number of rooms for us in our destination as well. So,
Okay, well, thank you.
yeah.
Ms. Lady? Dan? Sorry.
Yes, legislative fiscal talked about that same time period, that 2024 is really when there will be more of a turnaround because there's in private business, it may go faster, but in services and other things like that, 2024 is when they expect to turn around.
Yeah, I think it's a good way for us all to keep in perspective that this is a process, that it's not instantaneous, that it will take time.
Yeah. Christina, you have someone in queue?
Ann Lee is on, has her hand up.
Yes, thank you. I have a question on the summary of revenue and expenditure on page 6. So under other revenue resources, it was 66,000 in fiscal year 19 and 69,000 in fiscal year 20 and 0 in this current year, probably due to COVID. And you proposed 2.7 million in fiscal year 22. And I think that's a big change compared to the previous years. What revenue sources do you anticipate to receive in fiscal year 22?
Thank you for that question. There's 2 things that happen in there. As Sandra mentioned in an earlier presentation, the way we receive our funds into the department changes this year. So that's transient room tax dollars reflected in a line that it had not previously been in. So there is an increase in our projection for revenue due to the increased demand for travel and revenue generated by that, and then also there is this accounting that is happening, that revenue is coming to us through a different line in what's presented to you.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you. I see no other questions on the table, so Samara, thank you very much.
Thank you all for your time.